Carlos Alcaraz's situation is no longer just a minor discomfort. It is starting to look deeply alarming. This is no longer just about skipping Wimbledon or resting up out of pure precaution. What if that wrist injury is worse than they admit? Carlos has already pulled out of Madrid, Rome, Roland Garros, Queens, and Wimbledon. 2 straight Grand Slams missed. He lost almost the entire clay season, then the grass, all because of a cursed area for any tennis player, his right wrist. That is when the alarm bells rang. Dr. Fernando Polo, a true authority in hand surgery, a wrist and elbow specialist, supports Alcaraz's conservative therapy, but issued a warning that changes the scale of this nightmare. If therapy fails, surgery is inevitable, and going under the knife won't speed things up. It would push back his return another 3 or 4 months. Hearing a warning like that makes you fully understand his team's extreme caution. It is no longer about a fast comeback. It is about coming back healthy. You do not risk a career to save one tournament or chase ranking points. A wrist injury is no joke. The specialist suspects damage to the extensor carpi ulnaris, a vital tendon that stabilizes the wrist during every spin and shot. He compared it to a car engine. If the engine fails, no matter how much you want to, you just cannot step on the gas. Maybe that is why we are starting to accept Carlos's painful decision to withdraw from Wimbledon so early. It is not normal to quit the most sacred tournament of the year so early if you had even the slightest chance of competing. And that is the biggest fear, that it is not just a temporary inflammation, but something far worse. Something requiring absolute patience that could cost him dearly if managed poorly. Honestly, with everything he is carrying, only one word defines Alcaraz's situation right now: patience. The courts, the rankings, and the glory can wait, but a poorly healed wrist will destroy your career forever. Perhaps the most alarming thing is not his time away, but the suspicion they are hiding the true scope of the injury. Officially, they claimed it was tenosynovitis, a serious inflammation of the joint. But as the weeks roll by, tour experts are beginning to suspect a much darker secret. And suddenly, a comment from Rafa Nadal has sparked the absolute worst rumors. Recently, when talking about Carlos, Rafa made a highly unsettling remark. He stated that luckily it is not chronic, but then immediately dropped an even bigger bombshell. I tore the exact same thing he has torn twice. Hearing the word tear changes everything in an instant. A simple inflammation is nothing like an actual tissue rupture. Even if Nadal just misspoke or was talking casually, his words had many people connecting the dots. Suddenly, the entire mystery started making perfect sense. That massive hiatus, the lack of information, skipping Wimbledon early, the extreme caution, and having absolutely no set return date. If it really were just a minor inflammation, I highly doubt we would see such a massive hiatus. And that is the absolute nightmare surrounding Carlos Alcaraz right now. This cursed uncertainty. No one details his injury, nobody knows when he will return, no one guarantees therapy will work, and the threat of surgery still looms. When people in this sport start whispering about surgery, tears, or endless setbacks, the alarm bells ring and everything changes. We are no longer mourning a missed Wimbledon or Roland Garros, but fighting to save the career of a 23-year-old born to dominate the courts for decades. And I am certain that is exactly what his inner circle is trying to protect, focusing on the long term, regardless of this season. Dr. Fernando Polo himself warned with absolute bluntness. He is risking his professional future. Those words perfectly sum up this whole drama. His goal is no longer a hasty return, but saving Carlos Alcaraz from a chronic torment that shadows his legacy. While Carlos experiences the darkest hours of his career, the professional tour stops for no one. And that is undoubtedly the bitterest part of this whole story. While the Spaniard suffers in silence to heal, Jannik Sinner is putting together a simply legendary season. Monte Carlo, Madrid, Rome records, and Masters 1000 cemented at the top, with a points lead that feels like an unbridgeable abyss. This injury is not just stealing tournaments from Alcaraz, it is costing him absolute control of the world rankings. When you calculate the lost points, the figure is dizzying. Barcelona, Rome, Roland Garros, Queens, and Wimbledon. Over 5,000 points vanished without even taking the court, creating a scenario unthinkable just months ago. Sinner will reign supreme in 2026 as the undisputed number 1. While the Italian hoards trophies, Carlos watches his points vanish from his couch, seeing how the tour moves on without him. And I truly believe this is a brutal psychological blow for a competitor like Alcaraz. He is not losing by playing badly, nor is he getting knocked out. He is not even being outplayed on the court. He simply cannot play, and that is the most infuriating thing for any elite athlete. To make matters worse, things are getting way more complicated than expected. It is not just the number one spot at risk. Now, even second place is in danger if Alexander Zverev dominates the Grand Slams and scoops up all those open points. And that is where we feel the real impact of this injury. Just a few months ago, everyone was wondering how many Grand Slams young Alcaraz would win. Today, the debate is completely different. When will he play again? This changes the entire perspective, because Carlos Alcaraz has never experienced such a long absence from the ATP Tour. Never. That alone explains the massive level of concern right now about his future. The tennis world was used to seeing him compete, always there, fighting hard, shining on the biggest stages. Then, suddenly, he vanishes for months, right when he was entering the prime of his professional career. Let us not forget a key detail. Before his injury, Carlos Alcaraz was playing the best tennis of 2026, right alongside